You're listening to the Weekend Sport Podcast with Jason Pine from News Talk ZB.
Go to football. The Wellington Phoenix women have had a very, very good start to the season, and this afternoon take on Western United at Jerry Collins Stadium in Porirua. They're taking a home game away from Sky Stadium. Western United are one of the newer sides in the competition, and last year, in their first season in the competition, went all the way to the grand final. The Phoenix women, on the other hand, have had two challenging years, but this year they've started extremely well. In fact, they've won their last two matches. They've never, in their club history, won three in a row, but they could this afternoon if they were to beat Western United out at Jerry Collins Stadium at 4 o'clock. Paul Temple is their coach. I spoke to him during the week. Asked him first of all about an injury to Grace Wisniewski, one of the up-and-coming midfielders in his squad. She suffered a knee injury last weekend, and it was confirmed during the week that it is an ACL that is going to keep her out for up to 9 to 12 months. I asked Paul Temple first of all how the club was going to support Grace Wisniewski in her recovery.
We've got some support mechanisms in place at the club now, which I think are really helpful to all the athletes in terms of that kind of sports psych and well-being. So from that point of view, away from the football pitch, when it's going to become a struggle, which is usually sort of post-operation, there's a period where you can't really do a lot. And so supporting her in terms of as a person and how you go through that, I think is key from the club's perspective, but also I guess you could say we're lucky or unlucky, but we've had some people in that position of recovering from ACL recently with Alex in the men's, and obviously we've got Flea and Olivia with the women's team. So she's surrounded by people that know exactly what she's going through, and so we just have to help her through the journey now over the next sort of 9 months or so.
Are ACL injuries becoming a little bit of a talking point, a little bit of a problem in women's sport in particular?
Yeah, definitely a talking point and a problem. Too many. I read a statistic, there was 260 ACL injuries in women's football last year, so there's just way too many. So look, more research needs to be done. I'm not the medical expert as to why these injuries are so common, because it's a nasty injury, and it is like 260 odd across a season is common. So we've had 3 in 3 weeks in the A-League, and I think from the A-League's perspective, we really need to look at longer pre-seasons to prepare the players properly, because we're asked to do it in 5 weeks of an international break in between. So that's really tough, and I think that does have an impact. And then we've also got to start looking at things like bigger squad sizes, larger benches, and things that we can do to support the female athletes. So yeah, when we have more research of like academic research about what we can do to support and help this, then obviously we'll be applying it. But at the moment, it's one of those things where it's still a bit of a grey area, and no one's really too sure why it happens so often and what we can do to prevent them, because it's just, yeah, it's horrible. Like, it's season ending every time you get one. So it's just a horrible injury to have.
Hopefully there can be some decent research done. Annalie Longo back from her ACL.
Yeah.
Got half an hour off the bench the other day. What's her likelihood of playing more than that on Sunday, perhaps?
Yeah, I think we'll see a little bit more minutes. We've, again, just got to consider, she's come off the back of the ACL and kind of got back very quickly for the World Cup and was able to play that, but obviously didn't start any games or have long minutes, like 90 minutes. So we're just going to be cautious with like getting her back into 90 minutes and how long that takes, because for the best thing for her is that we still make sure that she's getting back fully, and we're not rushing that process too much, because we want her for the long term, right? So not necessarily starting, but potentially could start. But yeah, I would imagine kind of like 45 to an hour will be sort of like what we'll see, and then we'll just keep building from there.
And we can't do an interview with any of your players this season without them talking about small ball.
Yep.
Can you tell us what that might be?
Yeah, it's become a little bit of maybe a little bit more of a talking point than I thought. So yeah, it's kind of just the way that we're describing how we want to try and play, and it's about players being in tighter spaces and being able to pass shorter passes and be able to build through shorter passes rather than kind of more longer, expansive passes. So we've called it small ball, smaller spaces, smaller passes, and the ball moves quicker. So yeah, it's just kind of really a bit of a principle of the way that we want to play, and will really influence the style in which we're going to play. And I think we're starting to kind of see more and more of it as the games come out. It's been a gradual process, but over the 3 games, it's just more and more time in the game where we kind of have that control of how we want to play, and so we're just going to keep building that, and hopefully you'll see that evolve here.
Western United on Sunday. Last season they beat the Phoenix in both matches. This is obviously a very different Wellington Phoenix side this season. But what do you see as their particular threats on Sunday?
Yeah, they're one of the better sides in the competition, like just based obviously last year making the grand final in their debut season. They got some big players. I think Hilary Bill's back as well now. And then obviously Hannah Keane had a strong season last year. They're sort of the 2 big names in that team, but they've got some talent. So yeah, we're going to have to be at our best to get points against teams like Western United. So yeah, I think we're very aware of what they're going to bring. Strong, physical, like being good on the counter-attack this season, and they don't know when they're beaten. They keep going and keep going. So yeah, it's going to be a tough game, but I've kind of said it before, like we're looking at every opposition now for weak points and saying this is what we can do to hurt them. Let's focus on what we're doing against their system, against their structure, and let's focus on us winning the game and kind of them spending more time worrying about us. So I think that's the key message we've been given to the players all season. We believe we can beat anyone, so we've just got to do what we do well, and hopefully we can get the result.
Just one more from me. Last couple of weeks we've seen Mickey Foster come off at around about the 65 minute mark. Yeah. Are you managing her minutes, or is that tactical?
No, managing minutes. Again, pre-season she pretty much missed the first three and a half weeks. She was over in France with her dad at the Rugby World Cup, so we gave her some leave early on, and then she went straight to the Ferns camp in Chile and come back, and we literally had her for a day before we went to Australia. So we're just managing, again, like we're just cautious. We've got 22 games now. We want the kind of the longevity here. So if you push too hard and then kind of load up too much, then you get potential injuries down the line. So it's just a management thing at this point in time. But what's been positive about that is the influence that we can have off the bench and some of the players that have been able to fill in those positions. Yeah, I think we've got a lot of positives out of it and good impact when subs have come on. But yeah, we'll be looking to sort of build Mickey up more and more.
That is Paul Temple, coach of the Wellington Phoenix women. 4 o'clock this afternoon, they take on Western United at Porirua Park, just out of Wellington. It is a nice day here.
For more from Weekend Sport with Jason Pine, listen live to News Talk ZB weekends from midday or follow the podcast on iHeartRadio.